Hello, children. Let's start Unit 12 Organic Chemistry, some basic principles and techniques. In this, we will study on organic chemistry and organic compounds, hydrocarbons, functional groups, and homologous series, nomenclature of organic compounds, isomerism, characterization of organic compounds, types of chemical reactions, and their mechanism. By the council, the portion that has been reduced, I would like to make you aware of that methods of purification and vital force theory has been reduced. Let's start organic chemistry. Let's see its historical background. Old concept was the word organic signifies life. Therefore, all substances which were obtained directly or indirectly from living organisms, plants, and animals were called organic compounds, and the branch of which chemistry deals was called as organic chemistry. Although a large number of organic compounds, such as sugar, starch, alcohol, oils, indigo, resins, etc., had been known from earliest time, very little information was known regarding their chemistry until the beginning of 18th century. Lemery, a scientist, in 1675, he divided the natural substances into three classes according to their respective origin. Number one, mineral substances obtained from the mineral kingdom, vegetable substances obtained from the vegetable kingdom, animal substances obtained from the animal kingdom. And this classification was expected accepted quickly by its Lavoisier, the father of chemistry, who first showed in 1785 that all compounds obtained from vegetables and animal sources always contain carbon and hydrogen and frequently nitrogen and phosphorus. It was also realized that some organic compounds occurred both in plants and animals. This led to the reclassification of natural substances into two categories. Number one, all those substances which could be obtained from vegetables or animals, that is, the substances which were produced by living organisms. These substances were classified as organic compounds. And all those substances which were not obtained from the living organisms, these were classified as inorganic compounds. Quite a large number of organic compounds, just see few examples. Scheele, in the year 1769, isolated tartaric acid from grapes, citric acid from lemons, malic acid from apples, lactic acid from milk, and uric acid from urine. Raleigh in 1773 isolated urea from human urine. Liebig in 1829 isolated hippuric acid from horse urine. Sir Turner in 1805 isolated morphine from opium. So all these discoveries have isolated from natural sources by the first quarter of 19th century, but still then none of the organic compounds could be prepared in laboratory. This led to believe that organic compounds followed laws of formation different from inorganic compounds. Berzelius scientists assumed that some vital force, that is also known as life force, was necessary to produce organic compounds, and synthesis of these compounds in the laboratory was impossible due to the absence of the vital force theory, which only existed in the living organisms. The vital force theory suffered the first death blow in 1828 when Wohler synthesized first organic compound urea in the laboratory by heating ammonium cyanate. This is the reaction. You can see that how urea is being formed when ammonium cyanide is heated. Since then, a large number of organic compounds have been synthesized, and their formation is governed by simple laws of formation as applicable to inorganic compounds and does not depend on special vital force. In spite of the fact that there was no fundamental difference between organic and inorganic compounds, a superficial distinction was maintained between organic and inorganic chemistry, and this distinction is still followed. Let's see some modern definition of organic chemistry. Since carbon is an essential constituent of all organic compounds, organic chemistry is defined as the chemistry of carbon compounds. In fact, out of millions of organic compounds now known, there is not a single compound which does not contain carbon. However, there are compounds of carbon such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, metal carbonates and bicarbonates, metal cyanides, metal carbides, etc., which are studied in inorganic chemistry because of their properties. Simplest organic compounds are those which are composed of carbon and hydrogen only and are called hydrocarbons. Other organic compounds may be regarded as derivatives of hydrocarbons, obtained by replacement of hydrogen by any other element or group. Thus, organic chemistry may also be defined as the chemistry of hydrocarbons and their derivatives. Now we should know what are the reason for large number of organic compounds. So we should present a justification for separate study of organic compounds. Organic compounds are studied separately because of the few reasons. Number one, large number of organic compounds. Compared with the compounds of other elements, the number of organic compounds is very large. You can think that there are total 118 elements in the periodic table. Why only carbon has given a separate branch? Because organic compounds comprise about 90% of all the known compounds. More than 5 million organic compounds are already known, and every year about 30,000 new compounds are added to the existing list. If the study of such a large number of compounds is also included in inorganic chemistry, it will throw the subject out of balance. So it is just justified to keep the organic compounds in a separate science, separate chemistry branch. Second is unique chemical and physical properties. There are marked differences between composition, structure, and properties of organic and inorganic compounds. Most of the reactions in inorganic chemistry are ionic and occur rapidly, while most of the organic reactions involve covalent bonds and are relatively slow. The phenomena of isomerism and tendency of catenation are unique properties of organic compounds. So we have seen that there are two reasons to justify to study of chemistry of carbon in a separate branch. Number 1 was large number of organic compounds. Number 3, unique chemical and physical properties. So let's see the reasons for large number of organic compounds. Number 1 is catenation. What is catenation? It is the tendency of an element to form chains of identical atoms is called catenation. This tendency is observed in the case of nonmetals showing covalency of two or more atoms. However, this property is maximum in carbon as it can combine with other carbon atoms by single, double, or triple covalent bonds. The bonding can be extended to form long open chains, straight or branched it can be, or closed ones. Second is tetravalency and small size. The carbon present in organic compounds is always quadricovalent in nature. It combines with other atoms by covalent bonds. This gives rise to the identical behavior of organic compounds. A carbon atom can link with other carbon atom by single, double, or triple bonds. The property of catenation is very strong in organic compounds. When we will see the structure of carbon, we will, as you know, the atomic number of carbon is 6. So number of proton 6, number of electrons 6. So when we will just divide the electrons, electronic configuration 2 4 in the outermost shell, 4 electrons are there. So 4 more are required to complete the octet. So this is the tetravalency of carbon. Carbon can form compound with oxygen, hydrogen, chlorine, sulfur, nitrogen, and phosphorus. It is not like that all the time it has to combine only to hydrogen. These compounds have specific properties depending upon the nature of the element or group attached with the carbon. Furthermore, these compounds are exceptionally stable because of the small size of carbon. Let's see some general characteristics of organic compounds. These are the compounds of carbon with hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. These are generally found in living organisms, for example, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, etc. These may be gases, liquids, or solids. Being covalent in nature, these have low boiling point and melting point should low boiling and low melting point and should be soluble in organic solvents. You know, children, those who do research work in the field of organic chemistry, they have to complete their all laboratory work during winters only, because when they try to form their derivatives in summers, it just get melted due to the heat. Okay, so the melting and boiling point both is very low of these organic compounds. These are generally volatile and inflammable. They do not conduct electricity because of the absence of free ions. They possess distinct color and odor. Now let's see the classification of organic compounds. As this chart shows that organic compounds can be classified into open chain compounds and cyclic compounds. Open chain compounds can be straight chain as well as branch changed, and cyclic compounds can be homocyclic and heterocyclic. Homo means only carbon ring will be there, And in heterocyclic, except with carbon, some other element can also be present. And this homocyclic compounds can be alicyclic as well as aromatic. See in detail this organic compounds, open chain or acyclic, closed chain or cyclic compounds. With example, it has been mentioned here: homocyclic, heterocyclic, alicyclic, aromatic. Now let's see the representation of organic compounds. It can be represented in many ways. One is first is graphic formula, or we can also say it complete formula. In it, all the bonds present between any two atoms are shown clearly, like this. This is also called as structural formula. In this, you can see that how every carbon is showing its tetravalency. This carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, all the carbons will show its tetravalency. So this is called structural formula. Condensed formula. In it, all the bonds are not shown clearly. Like this, it will be written. It is the condensed structural formula. In this, carbon-carbon single bonds and carbon-hydrogen bonds are omitted. However, carbon-carbon double and triple bonds are shown. Next is bond line formula. In it, every fold and free terminal represents a carbon and lines represent the bond. For example, like this. All this is your condensed formula and this is your line formula. So with this, I like to conclude here. In my next lecture, I will proceed with other properties of carbon, different classifications. This I will deal in my next lecture. So whatever the history is, you are aware of it, you have studied about it in class 10th, and few general information only is mentioned here. Just go through it after listening this, and before listening you should go read in your book first and then go through it. If you find any difficulty, you can ask. In my next lecture, I will proceed for next topics. So thank you, children.